Joanna Kane Potaka is the ADG, External Relations, and Executive Director, Smart Food at the International Crop Research Institute for Semi-Arid Tropics. She is an Australian national and has a Master of Science degree in Global Marketing. Prior to joining ICRISAT, she was the Director, Communications and Marketing Information and Knowledge Group at the International Water Management Institute. She was also head Information Management and Marketing at Biodiversity International and Information and Communication Leader at World Fish Centre. She began her career as an agricultural economist with the Australian Bureau of Agricultural and Resource Economics, BAE at the time, and later moved into market research in the agribusiness area of the Queensland Department of Primary Industries. Since then, she has worked in a variety of marketing related areas, including strategic marketing, communications, fundraising, knowledge management, and uptake of scientific research. She has worked for the government, for private industry, manufacturing and consulting, and with non-profits, including 4 CGIAR agricultural research centers. She has 25 years of professional experience and has lived and worked in India, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, the Philippines, Italy, and Australia. She is a certified practicing marketer in Australia, an associate of the Chartered Institute of Marketing in the UK, and a fellow of the Australian Marketing Institute.
Now, you've probably heard about superfood, food that's super nutritious. Well, let me tell you about smart food. Smart food is a superfood, but it goes a lot further. Smart food is food that is not only good for you, but also good for the planet and good for the farmer. Now, over the decades, development focus has changed. Back in the 50s and 60s, development was about just having enough food to eat. It was about stopping starvation. And in the 50s and 60s in India, that was critical. The country only had 7 days of food available for the nation. So the Green Revolution came along, and that was about just having enough food to eat, and it was successful. But then people became conscious of hidden hunger. It's about the nutrition of the food and the need for that. Now, more recently, the UN talks about sustainable diets, diets that are sustainable on the environment. Now, smart food brings all this together and goes a step further. So it's saying that our food must be good for you, good for the planet, and good for the farmer, especially the smallholder farmer. And more than 80% of farmers in India are smallholder farmers. So our aim became, under the Smart Food Initiative, how to popularize smart foods. But we have one particular objective where we believe if we can achieve this, we can have big impact. A big impact on the nutrition, on health, on the environment, on the farmer welfare. So this is if we can diversify staples with smart foods. Now, staples are typically 70% of the plate across Asia and Africa. So where they're, for example, white refined rice, 70% of the plate, and it's the least nutritious part of the plate. So if we can diversify that with smart foods, that's how we can have a big impact on nutrition, on health, on the environment, for the farmer welfare. Now, the biggest challenge in achieving this is the food system divide. Now, what that is, it's like an education divide or a digital divide. If you invest in something, it does really well. So it attracts more investment. So it does even better. And the cycle keeps going. And then it becomes very difficult for anything else to enter that. Now, the big three globally, wheat, maize, and rice, have achieved that. They have extremely well developed value chains. They've been invested in for decades. A vast majority of investment have gone into the big three. So it becomes difficult for anything else, but we can do it. And the way to do it is to focus on just 1 or 2 foods at a time, develop their value chains and bring them in as staples. But we've got to think globally to achieve this as well. We may be concerned about the smallholder farmer in particular areas, but to drive the markets, we've got to think globally. Now, then we had to say, what will we focus on to really bring in as major staples? Which smart foods? Now, the selection was millets. Why millets? Well, they're absolutely unbelievable crop when you learn about them. Okay, first of all, good for you. They not only are super nutritious, but they hit some of the biggest needs right now. So, for example, millets are very high in iron and zinc. Iron and zinc are in the 3 top micronutrient deficiencies globally. Now, with the iron causes anemia. India has increasing levels of anemia. Over 50% of women and girls are anemic in India. So there's a huge need for that. And millets, if you get the right variety, millets are so high in iron that even taking bioavailability into account, so that's how much of that iron you absorb, because you absorb less iron from plants than you do from animal sources. However, it is so high in millets, you can receive the same amount of iron from millet as you can from meat, from just a proportion, same portion. So very, very important. Now, finger millet or ragi is so high in calcium. It's got 3 times the amount of calcium as milk. That's super high. Extremely important for children, their growth, for women, everybody needs calcium. Also extremely important is millets have a low glycemic index, so they can help prevent or manage diabetes. Now, white refined rice is one of the worst things for diabetes, and the first thing a doctor will say to a pre-diabetic patient is you need to replace your white refined rice with the traditional staples of millets. So extremely important, and diabetes is increasing in urban and regional areas. It's increasing globally. Extremely important health issue to tackle. So millets are also high in fiber and have many other values, but they're super nutritious and target some of those biggest health and nutrition needs. Now, they're also good for the planet and the farmer. They survive with minimal water. They survive in high temperatures. This is going to be extremely important with climate change. They're considered a climate smart crop. They also require fewer pesticides and fertilizers, so they have a lower carbon footprint. They're kinder on the environment, and it's a lower input cost for farmers. So amazing criteria for around millets and sorghum. Plus, they fit some of the biggest health food trends globally. They're an ancient grain. They're a superfood. They're gluten-free. Great for managing weight. That's going to be a big issue and continue to be. So there's huge potential for millets. But now what we have to do is drive this, especially from the consumer side. Any efforts to date have mostly been at the production end. We need to drive from the consumer end, but then link that back to the farmer and ensure that the farmers benefit from any market growth. The way ICRISAT approaches this is we have to look at the whole value chain and the whole system. Any one intervention is only going to have the power of the strength of the whole value chain. So we need to look, first of all, at the whole breeding and the best varieties being out there of millets. And ICRISAT also does biofortification of varieties. This is about breeding for the maximum nutrition levels. So it's not about fortifying food, which is just bringing in chemicals. It's naturally bringing in the nutrition value right at the breeding stage. Then how do you ensure that seed system is in place? How do you ensure the farmer's getting the best quality seeds? Then ensuring on-farm practices are good. Millets can bring in diversity on farm. That diversity is really important for the environment, and it's important for farmers' risk management as well. Then looking at the processing side. Now, there's no use building all the nutrition of the crops and then processing to damage that nutrition. Just like we have what's called greenwashing, I have what I call nutrition washing. It's about presenting a food thinking that it's nutritious because we know millets are super nutritious, but if you processed it to a degree that you've lost the nutritional value, it's nutrition washing. So what we have to do is ensure the processing side maximizes the nutrition value. And actually, millets are quite amazing. Processing can even increase the nutrition value. Fermenting and soaking and sprouting and different methods actually break down the phytonutrients and increase your ability to absorb the nutrients from the food. So there's many areas there where we have to make sure it's done right. Now, incubators and further support for entrepreneurs are needed in this field. The entrepreneurs are the pioneers. They're ones at the coalface with the consumers. They are the ones that change the market. Millets need a new image. They need to be taken away from being seen as an old-fashioned food to being a modern, great, exciting food, and it's delicious. Now, the processors, the entrepreneurs are the ones that really do that, and they need supporting. So there's a lot that could be done. There's fantastic potential, and we know it's going to happen because just a short time ago, we were very excited to see announced that the United Nations General Assembly approved 2023 as the International Year of Millets. This is going to be the turning point for millet. So there is not a lot of time now to prepare and get ready to be there to leverage that year, which is going to be the time huge attention is placed on millet, and it will be the turning point. So there's fantastic new industry to build, and it can have huge impact on our health, on the environment, on the farmer welfare. So I suggest tonight, why don't you go out, try some millets yourself, experiment with it, eat it. If you're looking at going into a new industry, have a look at millets and write about it, learn about it. There's going to be a huge millet movement, so be part of it. Thank you.
NutriHub Technology Business Incubator and Startups Confederation is a Section 8 company being hosted by Indian Institute of Millet Research. This would serve the entire millets entrepreneurship across the country, and it is being primarily backed up by the value chain experience that we had, and initially it is being funded by Indian Council of Agriculture Research under National Agriculture Innovation Project in order to support the handholding of the agri startups in millet sector. Subsequently, Department of Science and Technology has come forward in establishing an infrastructure as well as the incubation environment to handhold all the startups in millets, followed by the strengthening of RKVY in a big way has boosted this particular incubation ecosystem in the country, and we have brought out some sort of a traction. To begin with my presentation, I would like to start with an impact rather than conclude with an impact, because I would like to elaborate on various aspects that the traction what I am talking about. More than 100 plus ventures are incubated at NutriHub, out of which 40 odd incubators, startup companies have been financially facilitated with the funding up to 3.4 crores under RKVY Raftar so far. So we have about 400 plus number of entrepreneurs touched, including those that of rural entrepreneurs, but then 175 ventures which are pre-incubated, and in fact primarily it is being about 30% of them happen to be from the women background, and the major aspect of this NutriHub is that it is solidly backed down by 60 plus product technologies that are being developed and offered for the startup companies. And if you would like to know about the employment, that the jobs that created are more than 1,000, while 170 of the technology transfers has been done to the startup companies with a 5-6 lakhs, means it is about 33 crores combined investment in the landscape is brought in. So that speaks about really the traction we had, and 260 new product launches by our startups. And our primary stakeholders, more than 60,000 farmers are connected directly or indirectly. And of course, in order to bring out, one of the major objective of NutriHub is to bring in the nutritional security to the country, and up to 7.5 lakhs of the consumers are currently estimated to be reached out. And with this traction, I would like to just elaborate on various aspects which I brought, because our strength lies in R&D, because this is an R&D institute wherein we brought about the new product development, shelf life studies, and various end product specific cultivars into that. And for launching PAD training, because this is very important capacity building that we enable, and the mentoring and networking facilities that we provide, virtual incubation support for those who are not located here, but in order to facilitate the entire millet ecosystem in the country, we provide for the remote areas this virtual incubation support also. Seed funding through RKVY, fundraising with the VCs and angel network. Backward integration has been a very hallmark of this institute, trying to work out various models and trying to take these EDP programs and capacity building forward. But most important thing is that in today's context, where there is lack of awareness about millets, promotional measures, this with the 360-degree communication strategies that which we are employing, whether it is a wet sampling, ATL or BTL, all are a mute witness and a testimony of really millet promotion that is happening through Indian Institute of Millet Research, and more so through the NutriHub. Another point which I would like to emphasize at this point is the policy advocacy, which is very vital for taking it forward and to scale up our efforts. And I want to just briefly describe about two important programs that are being run here. Nest is nothing but an agri-entrepreneurship program. Both of them agri-entrepreneurship programs. Second one is N-Grain, which is a seed support program. Both are funded by RKVY. We are facilitating for the startups. First one is an entrepreneurship program, up to 5 lakh funding. Grant in aid capital will be given to them. Grant in aid funding will be given so that they may be commercialize their ideas and take it forward. Especially the early stage startups are being encouraged with ideas. Second thing is N-Grain, where the minimum viable product is there for a particular startup company, and a traction about market traction up to 1 year with a good financials, at least that can show up for the scaling up prospects. We will be facilitating funding up to 25 lakhs. So these two programs, so far 4 batches were conducted. The first cohort and the second cohort people, they got the funding. So about 40 startups are now being funded up to 3.4 crores. We have also some of the other programs which are parallelly being undertaken by this NutriHub. One is Technology Entrepreneurship Development Program, by a 6-week program by the DST. And second one is Cooking with Millets, Indian Institute of Millet Research under NutriHub and Center of Excellence. We make a paid program for those people who are not familiar with the cooking with millets. And Ignition program, those who would like to get into entrepreneurship, millet entrepreneurship, we would also provide 1-day orientation program, giving a complete guided tour of what is required for them to enter into them, make a first step. So other platform training programs are customized for the students and other stakeholders also. So our competitive advantage, as I told you, that is an entire value chain, rich technology repository, processing facility, state-of-art facilities, especially various processing lines which are being established here for the startups to use them, to label their products, to brand, and then packing and sell, go to market. So it's like more like a 360-degree hand-holding that we do through all these things, with a strong linkage background and building up a lot of mentors and aligning with other emerging trends and working for future R&D also. Investor linkages we brought in, and this brought a national recognition and respect to NutriHub, and the international promotion is one important goal by because as the International Year of Millets is in offing in 2023, and which is being pushed by the Indian government and agreed by United Nations General Assembly on March 4th, 2021. So the latest thing that is happening. Our entire value chain linkages range from crop improvement to backward linkages, capacity building, farm gate value addition, and nutrition evaluation, which is a very primary thing, working with other stakeholders like NAN, scaling up the machinery, which is a very vital cake for us to take it forward, whether it is a primary processing or secondary processing, diversification of all the ready to eat and ready to cook products, and diversification of primary and secondary processing machines. So we take this thing forward and build up using this same knowledge transfer to entrepreneurship development, commercialization, beginning with Eat Right. We have launched out as an IMR brand from the Center of Excellence. Now, today we are just scaling up and trying to encourage other startups to build their own brands. So, in order to bring this last mile connectivity to all these startups who have come up to now closely for the past 4 years, 400 startups were established, and the first batch is graduated in the last year. So now the total data startups that are being handheld by us are about 200 startups. And the fourth batch is running, so there is that we are taking up, whether it is in a policy linkages and support and popularization program, we are on dot. So these value chain efforts are taking us with a back of technology repository, which is ever emerging. Any product that can be made with rice and wheat can also be made with millets now. Our first, as you know, that it is an International Year of Millets, and we have a big responsibility in India taking millet promotion forefront and flagging it, so that our startups can reach up to the all other countries, as well as taking up the technology that is being developed here and the value chain experience that we accrued through this our experience. We would like to translate it into the other countries also. With this tagline, I would like to conclude my presentation: eat millets and stay healthy. Thank you very much.